Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavali. Big show for you today once again. It's going to be a huge week of Champions League football, the second legs of the Champions League quarterfinals. Milan leading Napoli 1-0 from the first leg at San Siro. We've got the second leg in Naples on Tuesday. Inter leading Benfica 2-0 from Lisbon in their first leg match. They're playing the return at San Siro on Wednesday. We've also got the Europa League second leg quarterfinals with Juventus leading Sporting Lisbon 1-0, with Roma trying to overturn a 1-0 deficit in Rome to Feyenoord. And then we've got the Conference League quarter-final second leg between Fiorentina and Lech Poznan, and Fiorentina already virtually in the semi-finals after winning 4-1. So we're going to be previewing all of those games. We're also going to be, of course, reviewing all of the Serie A midweek action. Most of the big teams, nearly all of the big teams slipping up. Napoli, Milan, Inter losing, and Juventus losing as well, and the Rome team's taking advantage of that. So we're going to be analysing and breaking down everything that happened there. We're also going to have Baggio and Prem Face of the Week. It is a very, very competitive week for Prem Face of the Week, as it usually is, but today in particular, we've got quite a few whoppers. So lots to look forward to. Let's get into it. Right, we'll start off with the weekend Serie A action, and we'll start with the leaders, Napoli, who failed to win again. They lost, of course, to Milan last midweek, 1-0 in the first leg of that Champions League quarter-final. And they rested quite a few players for this game against Verona. They drew 0-0. It wasn't a particularly great performance from Napoli once again. Their form has really dropped. But, Nima, there was one huge positive ahead of that second leg against Milan, and that is Victor Osimhen is back. He was on the bench. He came on for the final 18-20 minutes, and he immediately made a difference, smashed the ball against the crossbar to show what he can offer in that second leg against Milan.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, we saw there were, I don't want to draw too much from those 18 minutes, but of course, you're going to look at him, and when he, whenever he plays, he's going to draw eyes to himself. There are a lot of questions about what physical, how is he, the physical shape he's in after this injury, and well, he looked pretty good to me. I wonder if he's got how many minutes he's got in his body going into that Milan game, but for sure, this is the cutting edge that Napoli lack when he's not there. The bite in their bark, so to match their bark, because they can retain possession until the cows come home, and they can hurt teams, and they can press high up the pitch and so on and so forth. But Osimhen gives them that kind of cutting edge up front, the killer instinct in the box, even though he does miss quite a bit of chances and he still can improve his efficiency, but he wreaks havoc in opposition defenses, not just because of the finishing, but also because of his link-up game, his aerial presence, and his movement. He never stops moving, and he always makes intelligent runs, and he always is a passing option for the midfield or the wingers or the fullbacks. So there's no doubt that this guy is going to be decisive one way or the other for Napoli when he plays. And we saw there was a complete different feel and vibe about Napoli against Verona. Now, I don't think the result against Verona really matters as much because, well, they've already won the league. Everybody knows it. It's just a matter of time. But I think going into the Milan game, it was important for Napoli to kind of get some sort of a moral boost from Osimhen, and of course, which we're going to talk about, the Aurelio De Laurentiis taking that photo and peace treaty that he had with the Napoli Ultras. So this is exactly what Napoli needed after a bit of an unnecessary shit show, to be honest, that they kind of did to themselves. I mean, obviously not Osimhen's injury, but yeah, that's where I am overall with this game.
Yeah, there wasn't much to talk about the game itself. Virtually no chances created at all. I think the only really big chance was, the Osimhen hit the crossbar, but that was him. That was a piece of brilliance from him more than anything. And then Ngong missed a one-on-one right at the end of the game for Verona, where he could have stole all 3 points. But not really much to talk about from the game. Napoli rested pretty much everyone that will play on on Wednesday. I think Di Lorenzo, maybe Lozano, and he's Jesus, but he was there, to gain minutes. Pretty much everyone else was rested. I think that there's two points I want to make from this from a Napoli point of view. First of all, there's no doubt that Napoli have, I don't want to say lost form, but they've definitely, this isn't the same Napoli that we saw at the start of the season. They've got one win in their last 4 games, 2 of those were defeats. They failed to score in 3 of those matches. Even in their last 8, even if you take it back to the last 8 games, they've lost 3, drawn 1. So half of those games they haven't won. Scoreless for successive games for the first time this season. So it's Napoli have lost. They've lost form. They have lost form at the kind of the wrong time of the season in terms of the Champions League. So that's number one. Number two, and I wanted to ask you about this, Nima, is Raspadori, because he played. I know he's still not fully match match shape since his injury, so maybe it's a little bit unfair to ask this question now. But looking at it over the course of the season, is Raspadori going to make it as a Napoli player, or is it a case? Is it just to continue that question, or is it a case of we know now that he's not going to make it as a centre forward in a 3?
That's the thing. I don't think he's going to make it as a centre forward because I don't think he is a centre forward. I think if you look at how he played for Sassuolo, he's a wide player in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, playing off of a central big number 9 or a focal point in number 9. At Sassuolo it was Scamacca. Here it's Osimhen. I don't think he's a centre forward. If he's going to play as a centre forward, he needs to play in a front 2. And I think we have to remember also that Raspadori this is his first season. He's still pretty young. He's not, I'm not saying he's a teenager, but he's not exactly 30 either. This is his first big club move. I'm willing to, and at a club that is winning the Serie A, going to win the Serie A. They're in the latter stages of the Champions League. They're fighting for trophies. That's a huge step. And I think there's always going to be a little bit of a time to adapt to that for him. So I think this year is a little bit kind of...
Because he's done well in the Champions League. He scored a lot of goals in the group stages. The Champions League, he scored 4 goals in the group stages, which is one of the best.
It's very good.
Fantastic. But you look at his Serie A numbers this season. 1 goal in Serie A all season. And yes, okay, he's had some spells injured. But, that is very, very disappointing, especially when you consider he's playing for Napoli, who create so much, dominate so much, and we've seen what they've done this season. So I don't know. He's done well for Italy as well, generally, done pretty well for Italy. But I do think that as a central man in that front 3.
No.
I think we've almost got the question answered for us there. That it's not doesn't look like it's working.
He's not a number 9 in a sole number 9 in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. He's not that guy. But if you need to play, you need someone to play off of, whether it's wide or
that raises questions about his future at Napoli, really, doesn't it? Because if he's not going to be the number 9, that means he's not going to be the successor to Osimhen if Osimhen leaves. And then, so his other option in a 4-3-3, I don't think he's going to play as a right winger. I'm not sure I've seen him play on the right, and I'm not sure that he would be really suited there on the right of a 3. It'd be the left of a 3. But there's Kvaratskhelia there. And Kvaratskhelia is not going to be sold this summer because Osimhen sold, they're not going to sell both of them. And it'll be Osimhen will be the first to go.
Well, if Kim Min-jae leaves as well, given the clause, I doubt they sell 2. I think if they sell
they're not going to sell both forwards. I think that's pretty obvious. They're not going to sell both forwards. So if I think Kvaratskhelia will be the second one to go after Osimhen. Osimhen will go first, whether it's this summer or next. And then so that raises questions over Raspadori's future. Can he afford to stay as another backup for another season behind Kvara? And how much is Kvara going to be rested? He's going to play pretty much. He's going to be their main man next season. So if Osimhen leaves, I don't know.
Well, we did see them play a kind of a false 9. They could do something like that. Yeah, like Sarri did, of course, when Higuain left. That's
or go to a 4-2-3-1, in which case he could play, I guess, as an attacking midfield centre. So there are other options, but I think that definitely did raise some question marks. And the other thing, and this is what I really wanted to talk to you about, because he is Swedish, and I remember you talking about him a few months ago, is Isaac Hien, the centre-back for Verona, because I was really, really impressed by him in this game. I thought he was magnificent. I went and checked his numbers as well after the game, and he made 4 tackles, 7 clearances, 1 block, 1 interception. He won all 5 of his duels. I thought he was like so dominant. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, what do you think about the future of this guy? To me, he looks a player. This guy.
Well, he does, and of course, Torino have snapped him up. If I'm not mistaken, I mean it's not official, I think, but they've got some sort of a deal with Hellas in place, and it's impressive given how Torino are good at snapping up talents and developing them. And if Ivan Juric stays for another season, massive development for him. I thought he was very good as well, but I think he's been outstanding all season, to be honest. The fact that he's gone from the Swedish league to the Serie A, and done so without hit the ground running is so incredibly impressive. I'm really, really impressed by him.
Yeah, I find him. He's a very commanding, imposing centre back. He makes his presence felt, and I was really impressed. Really, really impressed by him. Just quickly before we move on to Milan, so did you see that there's been this truce, this ceasefire, or who knows, between Aurelio De Laurentiis.
The most Italian thing. This entire scandal is the most Italian scandal of all time, or Italian problem. Only this can only happen in Italy, I think.
Well, Aurelio De Laurentiis did a tweet before the Napoli game, a photo of him with all the Napoli ultras, sorry, and
no, you said you were right the first time.
So there was kind of like De Laurentiis in the middle, and then he accompanied that with a message, kind of basically saying that we're all together, all united, Napoli to win. Basically saying that they've sorted out all the problems and everything. But the funny thing is, like, De Laurentiis had this kind of like, it almost looked like
blink twice if you need help, Aurelio.
Yeah, like it was like the kind of emoji where the nervous laugh emoji where they kind of like gritting your teeth. It was like one of those kind of like gritted teeth smiles from De Laurentiis. I mean, is this just one for the cameras, or what do you think?
Well, they had to do something. When Spalletti was so pissed off, he said he's not even going to stay on the bench if they don't have proper support. Well, they had to do something, and there was infighting amongst Napoli fans as well. And we read a statement by famous Neapolitan politicians and musicians in last week's episode, and I think it was on Thursday we did. Patrick Kendrick, translated brilliantly what was said. This was a problem. They had created a problem, and they were not united. And Napoli are not Juve. Napoli are not a stable environment. They're not a stable, controlled, calm environment. They're a volatile environment, and that's both good and bad. And this is what, when it turns bad, this is how it looks. And so they needed to be united. They needed to cut this nonsense out and go into this game to create some sort of momentum for them and positivity. And I think, Osimhen, like I said, alluded to earlier, Osimhen coming back, and this photo, as comical and as Italian of a photo, it's the most Italian football photo I've ever seen. But yeah, this is what they needed to do. I mean, let's remember, De Laurentiis was given police protection, and because of all the threats he was getting from certain parts of the club's fan base.
Yeah. The good thing, I think the positive from this is that hopefully they get the fans will actually cheer on Napoli. I think that's the key to it in this actual game.
Think so.
That's the key.
Think so. I think
long
this is
term,
Milan.
I'm not sure. I think it's
no. Long term, look, it's Naples, and the chaos is always just around the corner, and the next crisis is just 1 minute away. But they're playing Milan, and they are playing Milan in the Champions League semi-final, and they need to be united and need to focus on that. And I think the Ultras understand that if they are seen and perceived in the city of Naples and among that piazza and that tifoseria, that they are the reason for causing problems, and Napoli losing that quarterfinal, well, then they will lose all of their legitimacy and all of their friends that they have, and they will. Well, I think seen as a pariah.
Yeah. Well, I think they have to win. Napoli have to win this tie in order to save the Ultras, in my opinion. Because if it doesn't matter, the damage has been done. They've lost that first leg 1-0. They lost the psychological advantage. So if they go out now, whichever way you want to spin it, they've contributed to that. So I think they need Napoli to win just as much as Napoli.
If anyone wondered if Carlo has Neapolitan roots, they only need to listen to that 20 seconds about placing blame to understand. Like that is the only, that's the most Neapolitan answer I could have hoped for. Yes, that is one way to look at it, but I mean, I'm sure the blame game will be interesting to follow if and when Napoli are thrown out or lose to Milan. But regardless, I think that's a given now, because I don't see how Napoli beat Milan by 2 goals without conceding at least one.
Yeah, we'll come to the preview after. But let's talk about Milan's game against Bologna. There really isn't much to talk about in this game either. Milan rested 10 players. The only player that will start against Napoli almost certainly will be Mike Maignan, the goalkeeper. Everyone else was rested. In terms of the game itself, I mean,
I was so impressed by Stefano Pioli.
Pioli?
Because
resting everyone, you mean?
Well, resting everyone and getting Milan with a better team. Yeah. They were playing against the Bologna, who were so in form and have been hyped so much, and yet Milan deserved to win that game on the preponderance of play and the chances created. They were the better side. Their reserves were better than Bologna's best side, and that is just all on Pioli. Again, it just goes to show what a united team this is behind their coach, and the mental strength they have, because they went down to a goal within 30 seconds to Bologna after rotating this much. Now, if that were Inter that's a game Inter lose 3-0. But Milan come back, dominate, equalize, and should have perhaps had one or two penalty, or had at least one penalty, or one penalty for sure, and they should have probably won that game. They were better than Bologna.
Yeah, I mean, I agree they probably deserved to win the game, but they still dropped 2 points, and I think they got away with it because, and we'll come to Inter in a minute, they got away with it because Inter then ended up slipping up against Monza, losing to Monza, so they've gained a point on Monza, but then they've lost points on Lazio and Roma, so whether or not it was the right thing to do, I mean, time will tell with the Milan versus Napoli game. I
don't think it matters, to be honest, if you finish second, third, or fourth. It's about finishing in the top 4.
But what I mean is that there's the race for the top 4 is still on.
Of course.
They're 2 points above Inter, yes, but they've lost ground on the others. So who knows who's gonna finish in the top 4 at the end of the season.
But let's remember that Roma have a difficult game, like fixture list left. They're playing Inter Milan. They're playing all the they've got a pretty difficult fixture list left, and I expect that if and when Roma go through to the semi-final of the Europa League, I think that's where the focus is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I admire Pioli for having the balls, let's say, to rest 10 players and really go for this Champions League, which I admire. Time will tell whether it's the right decision or not. In terms of negatives, I mean, there's no looking past Charles de Ketelaere again. The more I look at him, the more I know you make the analogy to Tonali, and you've said that from day one. Let's not judge him till next season. But the more I look at him, the more I just think that he's shaping up to be one of the most historic flops at Milan. I'm just seeing nothing. I'm seeing nothing.
I reckon, though. I mean, because I've not heard anything. Maybe there's something about off-field issues as well, because that we don't know of adapting to life in Milan. Maybe there are problems.
Possibly because he does look like, on the pitch anyway, personality-wise, he looks like somebody who is very, and I think I saw it in one of the player ratings, I think it's from Gazzetta, where, just like a very meek, very shy, scared boy, and whether that is a personality thing off the pitch.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, is there something going on off the pitch that we don't know about? Because
I don't know, or whether is he just not good enough player? Because I don't see. Yeah, it's certainly from a character point of view, there's definitely big question marks. But if I just look at his attributes, of course, there's no doubt he has a wonderful left foot, and he probably sees the game, and he's probably creative. I'm not doubting the technical qualities, or even the kind of like his vision and things like that, those kind of qualities. But I'm just looking at I don't see a player that's got that little explosive from 1 to 5 yards to be able to get away from someone, and that little spark, which you think you always see from great attacking players. And I just don't see that with him. And that's my concern. We knew that Tonali always had that, even when he was having his difficult first season. We know that Tonali's got that in his game. De Ketelaere, maybe I didn't see that much of him before he joined Milan, but I haven't seen it at all from him in Milan. So That's my concern. Origi, we know. I mean, he's virtually a write-off now. So,
I mean, it was a poor signing.
Yeah.
It was a completely abject poor signing because that's not exactly a teenager or a player with a hot prospect for the future. We're talking about someone who was the fifth striker at Liverpool, and they wanted to bring someone with experience in, and he turned out to be an abject failure. And I hope that they'll be able to offload him in the summer.
Yeah,
and that's the only. I just find the whole situation, and I keep saying why about Colombo. Because Milan like to play with a big striker who's rather technical. Well, I'd rather give that spot to Colombo. At least he's young and he can train with Milan.
He can develop a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure Colombo's ready. I mean, he's not even getting in the Lecce team either.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, like, I'd rather give that spot.
Yeah,
to Colombo.
I agree. At least let him. Totally. At least you've got something potentially from the future from him. Whereas Origi, you just know you're not getting anything.
What are you getting? Yeah. What are you getting? What exactly does
and
it
$4
provide?
million a year he's on as well. So
it's such a look. I think Massara, as I keep saying, Ricky Massara has been probably the best sporting director, or is the best sporting director in the last 2 years in Italian football. But this is a howler. Origi is a howler. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it can happen, can't it? I mean, he's had an off-season. Marotta's had an off-season. Talking about Marotta, Inter, I mean, I'm speaking to one of my good friends about Inter, and I said to him straight after the game, it was Groundhog Day again for Inter. That's the only way you could explain it. This
is the most Inter season, Pazza Inter season I can remember since 93-94, when Inter almost got relegated from the Serie A but won the UEFA Cup. This is just classic Inter. That season as well, they were woeful in the league. There was nothing there. They couldn't deliver. Bagnoli was sacked, and then they go on and win the UEFA Cup, which was at that time what the Champions League is now. Because in the Champions League,
but can I just come in here and say why it's Groundhog Day for Inter? Because we see the same thing. There's the same ticks on the Inter bingo card that there is every single week. Number one, straight after a great result in Europe, Inter slip up. Inter slip up against a small team. Inter have so many shots, so many huge chances, cannot score. Inter have more than 25 shots in the game, can't score. Inter attackers continue their drought. Romelu Lukaku, another huge sitter that he misses. I mean, it's Groundhog Day. Tick, tick,
it's Lautaro, Correa as well, Dzeko. And now all four of them decided to miss good chances in this game. It's bizarre. But again, I keep saying this is like 94.
I'm just waiting for Bill Murray to appear on the pitch. That's what I'm waiting for next.
No, look, I mean, I think there's a big difference between this game and the previous losses. I think Inter were poor in this game. They were not as dominant, and they made so many simple, unforced errors when they weren't even under pressure. Playing Aslani was something that, this was the second consecutive Serie A game that he started, but he showed why he's not quite ready to do that just yet, because there was no ball progression with him at the ball. Barella got so frustrated, he kept deciding he was going to do it all on his own and kept moving down and grabbing the ball, and he was going to do what Brozovic did because he got so annoyed with Aslani, which made Aslani completely redundant, making Inter play with one less man on the pitch. And Barella was having a shit day as well, so he missed simple passes, which just completely unbalanced the midfield. Denzel Dumfries' attitude was disgusting. I don't know who he thinks he is, walking around making gestures and pointing around.
I love how you go after Dumfries every single week. It's like me and Allegri.
But I'm not going after. Look, it's like watch the games. It's nothing personal against Denzel Dumfries. I know. It's just, just look at the attitude. I mean, what the half-hearted, half-assed runs, brainless, didn't even track back when he makes them. Makes simple mistakes, can't cross a ball to save his life. And then, every single one of them. Lukaku was the only one who at least was working hard, but of course he can't score.
Can you explain something to me? Why do Inter fans, I've seen it a lot, why do Inter fans call Dumfries Brick Freeze?
Because because the first touch, he's got brick for feet.
Oh, right. Okay. Brick.
And he's got
it cracks me up that name. It's like Brick Freeze. Why are they calling him Brick Freeze?
No, because he's Brick City when it comes to his control of the ball, or the lack thereof. He can't cross a ball. It was just woeful to watch. Every single player. And again, and Simone as well, the changes he makes were too late. I mean, that's all on Simone Inzaghi. Why did not Raul Bellanova start this game? Denzel Dumfries is not good enough. Play him in Europe then, because that apparently is the only tournament, as Marco Parolo said after, I think it was brilliant. He said after the game, former Lazio player, coach that was played under Inzaghi, he said, Inter players only care about themselves. They only care about showing off in the greatest stage because that's good for their careers.
But even the thing is, though, Nima, even though I do agree with you, Inter made a lot of unforced errors in this game. But at the end of the day, it's still the bottom line. If you tally up the number of big chances that Inter had in this game, they still created a host of absolutely huge chances. Sitters, like you said, all four of the strikers missed a sitter pretty much. I think they did. All four of them missed a sitter in this game. Maybe not Correa, but the other three did, and Correa had a good chance himself. And they still had an XG. I mean, this isn't super high, but it's still pretty damn high. 1.89 XG Inter had to 0.88 for Monza. So again.
Yeah, but it's the same thing over and over again. It's like they create chances, they don't score, they get frustrated. It's like a virus that goes from one player to another. This frustration and annoyance, and then they start missing simple passes, and they start with a negative body language, and they all just bring each other down.
Is it a psychological issue now, in the sense
without a doubt?
This is happening, like I said, because it's Groundhog Day. It's happening time after time. Yeah. It's like they almost, it's affecting them when they have these chances, and now you look at their run. They've now gone 5 without a win in Serie A. 1 point from those 5 games. They've scored 2 goals from those 5 games. They've now got 11 defeats in Serie A, which is insane number of defeats. Only twice before have they lost 11 games at the 30. Lost 11 matches at the 30 game stage, which is where we are. And for the first time in history, Inter have lost 3 straight games in Serie A at San Siro without scoring a goal. So, that's psychologically, this has got to be affecting them, hasn't it?
Of course. No, this is a mental issue, because I think it's a combination of a qualitative issue and a mental issue. And I think Simone Inzaghi, the camera zoomed in on him at some point in the second half, and I thought he was going to quit at half. I thought he was going to quit after the game. Like he had that look of, I'm done with you people. What is wrong with you? We do everything, work everything, we prepare everything, and as soon as it's game time, you can't score to save your lives against these teams. And there are rumors going around that he wanted to resign after the Empoli game, but was convinced to stay on. They're not verified, of course, but we have to say they are rumors. I understand. I mean, he's completely left alone again. Nobody comes out to shoulder the responsibility with him. Every single day there, his job is being speculated of who's going to take over and who's not going to take over, and what's going to happen next season and whatnot. There's no ownership structure in place. There's nothing there. There's no società, to use Italian terminology.
I've seen also that Inter fans have been very critical of Marotta and the upper management, how they only seem to come out and talk when Inter win, and when they lose, they go into hiding.
They all hide like mice. They all do their best cricket impression and disappear.
We haven't heard that one for a while.
Yeah, no, it's embarrassing. But I mean, this is Inter as a whole. And then, of course, whenever, again, Inter go into a game, they start well, they start creating chances, they miss, they get frustrated. One player isn't, someone like Barella decides to be a leader and he's not having a good day. He makes Aslani completely redundant. Inter playing essentially with 10 men. Denzel Dumfries has a shitty attitude, can't play football, can't cross, and it just goes round and round. And then, of course, from the 70th minute onwards, the opposition have a corner or a set piece. Inter forget to defend like Bastoni did on Caldirola. They head in the goal, game over, finished. It's just
another former Inter player 2 weeks in a row. It's like they're almost like they're being trolled. It's like adding,
Yeah, well, this is Inter. This is classic Inter. This is vintage Pazza Inter. This is part of it. And Caldirola, of course, came on in the 2-2 game. It was adjudged to be a own goal, but he had the
header. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So Luca Caldirola, former Inter player, Inter Primavera player, huge Inter fan. Of course, he's going to score. Michele Di Gregorio also came up through the ranks at Inter. Has a fantastic game. It's just peak Interismo. This is peak Interismo, which is why I come back to the 93-94 season, because there are a lot of parallels here. That was the Pellegrini era, the year before he sold to Moratti. Everyone knew that Pellegrini was tired. He was fed up with Inter. He wanted to sell. The team was pretty poorly put together. They almost got relegated from the Serie A, but they won the UEFA Cup. They did well in Europe. And it was a complete mind F watching Inter. There was no sense in it. And this is exactly how it feels again watching Inter. Now we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if they were to lose against Benfica or get knocked out, then
I think Inzaghi's will definitely be gone.
Oh no, it's over. It's complete meltdown.
Like instantly after the game. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I think it's very unlikely. I think Inter are in such a strong position, but if it was to happen, I think he's definitely gone. Just before we move on to Lazio, just a word of.
But I just wanted to say there's quite an interesting. I mean, we know the same thing is true here of 93, 94 and now, because Suning are going to sell at the latest within a year. It's a team that's kind of poorly built together. It's got good individual players. Some of the players are really good, but they can't deliver consistently. There's a lot of parallels there. But of course, the other parallel. Well, for Inter, I'm not saying, not just that. I'm just more the sense that if Inter are going to go on and win the Champions League, as they did back then in '94 to win the UEFA Cup. Well, there's a counter narrative because there's also another narrative across town with Milan. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, his Champions League curse. He's part of Milan. They're in the Champions League. They could reach a semi-final or a final, and he's not registered to be there. If they do, which would be the ultimate imagine Milan win the Champions League and Ibrahimovic doesn't get a winner's medal. I mean, it's madness. So there are competing narratives for craziness.
Even in that 93-94 season, Bagnoli, Osvaldo Bagnoli, he got sacked with a couple of months or so left of the season and was replaced by Gianpiero Marini, who then won the UEFA Cup.
Yeah, as an interim coach. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they can afford to sack Inzaghi, and I think it would be madness to do so. In bringing Christian Kivu to who that's throwing away the season, as long as they're in the Champions League, that is. But we'll see. I mean, if they have to go through to the semi-final, if they do, because I think Inter have a bigger look. If Inter want to play Champions League football next season, they're going to have to win the Champions League. I think it's done now. It's over. Yes, they're 2 points away from Milan, but I expect Juventus to get those 15 points back, and then God knows what happens with.
Well, that's the thing with Juventus. I think they get the 15 points back, but I think, listen, a lot depends on if that other case is settled before the end of the season.
But even if it's settled after the season, what happens? What's going to happen?
Well, that's why that's why it's such a mess, isn't it? It's there's no existing laws, and it's all arbitrary about when it will be decided, and so who knows?
Well, it's not arbitrary. It's just they're not finished.
No, it's not finished. But there's not really any existing law in terms of when we try a case, it has to be decided by this point. So no one knows what's going to happen, and when they do decide it, it's kind of.
What we do know is what we said on Thursday, and that is that the FIGC have informed Juve that their investigation into the salary maneuver, what's known as a salary maneuver, has been concluded, and Juventus have 2 weeks to hand in their response, and then after that they'll decide on what Juventus have said and what everyone have said, what the correct position of the law is in terms of the sporting aspect of it. This is just a sporting thing. This is the FIGC investigation into the salary maneuvers, and we'll know then what and if and what and how it'll happen. But before then, I expect Juventus to get their 15 points back. So we could be in a position where both Milan and Juve are out of the Champions League, and if they want to play in the Champions League next season, they're just going to have to win it.
Yeah, it's not something you can. You certainly can't make any calculations. That's the point I'm making. Just a very quick word on Monza. You have to give a huge praise. I mean, what they've done this season, in their first season back in Serie A for God knows how many years, and they do the double over Juventus, and they go unbeaten against Inter in both games and win one of those games. They drew the first game, right? It was a draw.
Yeah, 2-2,
and they win this game. So, look, I mean, they've taken from 10 points from 12 against Juventus and Inter. I mean, that's an incredible achievement from Monza, especially when you consider they started the season losing their first 5 games.
Because they had an awful coach. They had the worst coach in the Serie A to start the season. And I was saying that in our Serie A preview, that the sooner Monza sacks Stroppa, the better off they will be. And that's been 100% turned out, because I look at that squad and I think it's a squad that should be in the top 10 in the Serie A.
Yeah, agreed.
And I have no doubts that they would be if they had Palladino from the beginning of the season and not Stroppa.
No, they're very impressive, and I thought Pessina was great. I think Churia's had a really good season. Sensi, he got another injury, which is typical Sensi. It's good, nice for Galliani and for Berlusconi, who obviously has been in intensive care and not been very well. He's got leukemia, and good day all round for Monza, and I wonder what Berlusconi sent the players from his hospital bed.
God knows.
Lazio. They win again, and I think now it's absolutely certain that they've got top four sewn up, because they won 3-0 and they against Spezia away, and then now the gap between them and fifth place, and let me just double check this, make sure I've got this right. It's 10 points with 8 games to go. 10 points to
Inter. Yeah, and then they're playing Inter and they're playing Milan, both of them away. Look, even if they lose those two, that's 4 points to spare against Torino, Sassuolo, Lecce, Udinese, Cremonese, and Empoli. I expect
it's not going to happen. Milan and Inter are not winning all their games anyway, so
exactly.
It's just not going to happen.
I think Lazio have got it all sewn up. I think Lazio have got it all in the bag. If he and you got to, again, Maurizio Sarri, you got to give credit where credit is due. Some of the goals.
The second goal, the move for the second goal was unreal. If he'd have scored if he'd have scored that, Anderson, without the defender getting a touch before, that would have been goal of the season. It was unreal.
They just keep doing this time and time again. The same thing against Juve. It doesn't matter if it's Spezia, Inter, Juve, Milan. They play some of the most sublime attacking football that I think I've ever seen, and he's doing it with players that have never ever played this good before. Sarri, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Some of those goals belong in the Louvre.
They completely dominated. They totally dominated this game. I don't know what you thought about the penalty though. I thought that was really harsh for the first penalty that they got. I mean, ultimately it didn't matter. Lazio were much the better team, but it was 0-0 at the time, and goes back to what I've said so many times. I just think you can't give penalties unless it's unless you're certain of it, and because the reward is too high. And I thought that was a bit unfair, really. But yeah, again, pretty, very, very comfortable win for Lazio. Very, very impressive. And
it's important to get Ciro Immobile back scoring again, isn't it? Because he's had a bit of a weird
for sure. But now he's fractured his rib. He had a car accident, didn't he? Yeah. Did you see that? Yeah. The most Italian thing ever. He had an accident with a tram driver, and the tram driver blamed Immobile for
in Rome. Yeah. It's like the most Italian accident ever. Yeah. It's like, of course, your car hit a tram, and the tram driver's blaming you.
Yeah, typical. It reminds me of my granddad, who's long since passed. He left us in the year 2000, and he used to be like typical kind of like Italian Southerner. He enjoyed a drink, and during the afternoon. And he used to, sometimes you know what it was like back in the day when people used to have a drink and they used to drive. And they're probably a little bit over the limit, but that was kind of the accepted thing back in the day. Well, anyway, one afternoon he'd had a few too many to drink. He was drunk and he drove back home. And as he was driving down his street back home, he proceeded to basically crash his car into every single car that was parked down the street. But he hit. And this is no exaggeration, he hit about 10 cars down his street. Right?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's not drinking and driving. There's no laughing matter.
But this was back in the day when that was kind of accepted. Now, this was, I think, probably in the 80s, the 1980s, or maybe the early 90s. It probably wasn't accepted back then. But,
it's not accepted.
It was more accepted than it is now, especially among the older generation. It was kind of, they will have a drink. Oh, I've only had 4.
He hit every single car.
I've only had 4 or 5. It's all right,
Yeah, and he hit every single car.
He hit every single car down the street, right, during the middle of the afternoon. And my granddad was quite loud, quite passionate kind of, guy.
Was he from, is that the Neapolitan?
No, he's not from Neapolitan. He was from Puglia. He was from Foggia. But anyway, so he smashed it. Obviously, he made a huge noise. And so that all the street, basically the whole street came out, and all the people that own these cars that had came out, and they were like, "What are you doing?" Anyway, my granddad, my nonna, proceeded to blame every single person down the street for the way they parked, and he was shouting at them, "Why did you park like that? Why did you park your car there? Your car was still like," even though he'd crashed into 10 cars, he was blaming every other person. Oh, brilliant.
I love these stories that you share of your family. They are unbelievably good.
Yeah.
Or your own stories as well. They're absolutely fantastic.
That was the tram driver. That was just made me think of my granddad.
No, but luckily he's okay. Fractured ribs are.
Yeah, and his daughter's okay because I think she got a little bit of an injury as well. But I think everyone was.
So hopefully, I think we'll see him in a couple of weeks' time. But it doesn't matter because Lazio don't need him this season. They
haven't, and that's the thing, isn't it? That they've actually, they've found a way to proceed without Immobile, which is something that it's not easy. Like Napoli are going to have that trouble, as we've discussed already. If Osimhen leaves this summer, that's becoming apparent now. That's going to become a problem. Whereas Lazio seem to have already solved the issue, haven't they?
Yeah. They have to just keep a hold of Maurizio Sarri in order to, for next season, because Sarri's resolved it by playing his brand of football.
Yeah, they sure have. A team that also needs to solve their goal-scoring problems is Juventus, who lose to Sassuolo 1-0 on Sunday evening. Their embarrassing away record. There's 2 points I want to make from this game. About Juventus' away record and about their attack and their inability to create chances. First of all, it was a dreadful performance from Juventus. I have to make that point first. They were outplayed again for the third time in a week. They were outplayed, and Sassuolo created, I counted, 5 big chances in this match, and Juventus had 1.5 big chances. The chance that Di Maria had when he prodded over, which I wouldn't say was really clear, but it was a very good chance. And the header off a corner, Rabiot, which was brilliantly saved from Consigli. That's it. That's all Juventus had in this game. Sassuolo created the big open chances, and they had 5 of them. They only scored 1 of them. Juventus didn't have their first chance until the 67th minute with that header from Rabiot, which I mentioned. So the two main points I wanted to say. First of all, Juventus' away record this season is absolutely abysmal. It's played 15 in Serie A, won 7, drawn 2, lost 6. They've scored 13 goals in 15 Serie A away games this season, conceded 13. 13 goals scored in 15 away games. That is absolutely unbelievably bad. I can't underline how bad that is for a team that's fighting for top 4, but wanting to fight for the Scudetto, but even saying wanting to fight for the top 4, even wanting to fight for Europe, scoring 13 goals away is terrible. And they've now lost 9 games away from home in all competitions. Remember, they also lost all 3 games in the Champions League group stages away from home, including against Maccabi Haifa. So first of all, before I talk about the attack and the creating the problems, I mean, what can you say about this, Nima, about this away record? I mean, because their home record's actually really good. I think they've actually got the best home record in Serie A this season. I think they might even be better than Napoli's now, because Napoli have lost a couple of home games recently. I'm pretty sure Juventus have got the best home record in Serie A, but their away record is so bad. I mean, what?
Yeah, Juventus do have the best home record in all Serie A, 36 points, 11 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. And then away, they are dreadful. They are absolutely abysmal. They're 6th, but we should say they are 6th with one game in hand to Milan, who are just above them. But yeah, no, they don't have a good home record. They really don't.
I think it's the goal scoring as well. I mean, Inter have got a worse away record actually than Juventus.
They do.
Have this season.
They scored 21 goals,
and so have Milan, Milan as well. They've got worse. But both two teams, at least, I mean, they're scoring. But Juventus, I mean, 13 goals. I mean, 13 goals in 15 games. I mean, that sticks out like a sore thumb. That's that number. I mean,
it does. It really does. But I think it also shows that it's a team it's a work in progress, isn't it? I mean, it's a team that's not creating a lot away. They're not a team that create generally a lot, but they usually, Allegri teams have that kind of killer instinct, and this season they don't have that. And we've spoken about that with Vlahovic and so on and so forth. But I don't think it really. I think the broader point here is not just Juventus's away record in this game. I think it's not by chance that every single Italian team that play. I mean, we're recording this on a Monday before Fiorentina play, but so far, out of the 7 that have played in Europe last week,
Roma.
only Roma won. Every other team lost or drew. So that tells me that no Serie A team, or generally Serie A teams as a whole, don't have the depth to compete on at this point of the season on several fronts. And there's also the motivation issue. Juventus know they're not going to finish in the top 4 overall.
So they did rest a few players as well, as did Milan, as did Inter.
Yeah.
As did Napoli,
rotated 5 players. Yeah. So there is, but that's what I'm saying, that the depth just isn't there for these teams to perform on 2 fronts. And Napoli have built such a huge lead, so you can't really blame them. They've already won the Serie A. Inter and Milan, you can blame them more because they haven't won anything and they haven't secured anything. And Juventus, well, you kind of understand that because, well, they have to deal with what they've got, and what they know is that they are. They don't know they're going to get their 15. Allegri doesn't know for a fact that he's going to get those 15 points back, and he knows his best chance to play in the Champions League next season is to win the Europa League.
Yeah.
So there is that's the overall point. But if we look at the actual away record, yes, I think it's dreadful. There's no excusing it. It's unacceptable for a team like Juventus to score 13 goals in 15 games. It's unacceptable for them to not do better.
Yeah. I mean, if I look at this game, I think part of the problem is that generally Allegri's gone 3-5-1-1 in away games. He's extra cautious in the away games. This game, I mean, that's a problem in itself. And it's a very simple way of looking at it, but that does help explain why they've created and scored so few goals. But in this game, he actually went 3-5-2, but he went Milik and Vlahovic together. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just common sense. Those two are never going to work together. They're way too similar. They're 2 big strikers who, they're too alike. They're just not going to work together. I just thought that was a really big mistake. But if we're looking at the broader picture, and the problem is that, I've said this and I tweeted about this even after the Sporting game, which Juventus won. So people can't criticise me for just, jumping on a bad result because they won that game against Sporting. But Juventus and Allegri is incapable of building an attack in open play. Juventus, they can only create on a counter-attack, on a cross, if we're talking about open play, but basically off corners and set pieces, which is where the Brexit football comes in.
Oh my God, here we go.
In open play, it is abysmal. They're just incapable of putting any kind of patterns together to create anything in open play. And I did some digging on this after the Sporting game, because in that Sporting game in which Juventus was so incredibly lucky to win that game, they had a 0.24 open play XG. They basically created nothing from open play against Sporting Lisbon. So I did a little bit of digging, and this is accurate as before the weekend game, so not after. It would have got worse after the game against Sassuolo, because Juventus actually had a 0.4 open play XG against Sassuolo. Juventus 10th in Serie A for open play expected goals this season, and Juventus had a 29 open play XG before the last match day.
But what about for actual goals from open play? Where are they on that? Have you checked
actual open play? I think they had 30. I think they had 30 from open play. It was similar. It was pretty much similar, but I think they had one more goal than their expected.
I just thought when Fagioli was substituted off for basically making that goal for Sassuolo, that mistake, and started crying. I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't stop laughing because that's the most Allegri thing in the world. Like,
what do you mean? Like subbing him, or
yes,
subbing him after the mistake?
Yeah. Immediately after the mistakes, like you're off, and I think that will help Fagioli. Yes, he was upset and he cried and all that, but this is the profession. This is professional sports. It is unforgiving. It is that hard. You have to deliver. You can't make mistakes like that, and it don't have. I think in the long run, it benefits.
Like Juric and what's his name? Juric, when he substituted the what's his name, Radonjic for the
No,
10 minutes after coming on.
So. Yeah, but I think you have to. Actions have to have consequences at this level, and I think even though it's harsh, it will benefit Juve and it will benefit Fagioli in the long run if he learns from it.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
That's where I'm
yeah. I thought, I don't want to lay too much blame. It was a bad mistake, but those things can happen. And I mean, let's be honest, all the individuals were terrible in this game, apart from Perin, who's been absolutely brilliant this season. For me, the best number 2 in Europe. But my overall point stands. Juventus just can't create from open play, and that's where when you say work in progress, I know you're only using a term there. You didn't mean it literally, but when you I don't see any progress because I thought things were picking up a few weeks ago. Remember, I said on the pod that this for the first time I thought I was starting to see some progress with Juventus in terms of just the efficiency and just that feeling of that things were inevitable. Juventus were inevitably going to win games even when they weren't at their best. The last 5 games, Juventus have really been bad. It started with the Verona game that they won 1-0, but they played terribly in that game. Then there was the 1-1 with Inter when Inter were the better team, and the Juventus kind of only finished strongly in that game, kind of last 20 minutes. They were outplayed completely last week, the 2-1 to Lazio. They were completely outplayed by Sporting, and they were lucky to win 1-0. And then again, they were outplayed for most of this game against Sassuolo, and they were so bad going forward. I just feel like I'm back to square one now with my feelings on Allegri, and I hope they can just somehow sneak through versus Sporting because the league's gone now.
I think they will.
The league's gone, and unless they get those 15 points back, and even with those 15 points back, they'll be in with the fight now for top 4, even with those 15 points, and. It's really bad. Vlahovic, as I said, abysmal in this game. There was one example I want to pick out for Vlahovic in this game. When Chiesa came on, it was the 70th minute, so everyone can go back and look. He had the easiest through pass on to put Chiesa through on goal. It was such an easy pass. He overhit it. And for me, that just summed up everything about Vlahovic at the moment. Like a simple pass it was a straight pass. It wasn't even a difficult pass. And he totally messed it up, and it's just like, I don't know, I don't know where to look right now. I just hope Juve can somehow sneak through, and I hope that Sevilla can somehow knock Man United out because Man United have got a lot of injuries, and they threw away that game and drew 2-2. If Sevilla were to somehow sneak through against United, then Juventus can beat Sevilla. But I thought, I said a few weeks ago, that I felt like, I thought Juventus maybe had a chance against United. But the way Juventus are playing now, I don't see that. I
think they do still have that chance against United. I think they got a chance against both Sevilla and...
I think they've got a chance against Sevilla because Sevilla are not a good team. But Man United, even playing as the way they are now, I mean, it's really bad.
He's going to stand there with the UEFA Europa League trophy and you're going to bitch about...
I'm not going to bitch. I hope they do it. I really hope they do it because it's the only way they can get something out this season. And also, because with the points penalty.
Well, there's the Coppa Italia return leg as well next week.
To get into the Champions League. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's fair.
To get in the Champions League. Yeah. Okay, Roma, just to finish off, just quickly. Good win for Roma, 3-0. I think a good warm-up for the final game. I thought they were really unlucky against Feyenoord to lose one. They did not deserve to lose that game against Feyenoord in midweek. They deserved.
And it's going to be, this return leg is going to be it's going to be a packed Olimpico. It's going to be a European night, and Mourinho is just, he can say they're so solid defensively. He's going to approach that game with carefully approach that game, try to get, slowly but surely grind Feyenoord down, score 1, and then, allow Feyenoord a little bit time to get into attack them, and then, up the tempo and hurt them again, and just do those kinds of...
What's the situation with Dybala, Nima? Is he going to be back or is he going to be out?
I don't know. I haven't seen. I mean, hopefully he'll be back because I think... he's such an important player, but I've not seen anything.
Yeah, nor have I. I've been trying to find out.
I've been trying to find something out there either. I've not seen anything.
I mean, Abraham's back, which is good because there was concerns about him, but he came on and he scored in this game.
But is there any? Are we surprised that Pellegrini finally looks good when Dybala isn't there? I mean, it's like this is what
that
we
was
spoke
the other
about on the
positive, Nima, from this game. That Pellegrini, we hope he and he said it after the game, didn't he? We hope this will liberate him, Pellegrini. It's his first open play goal for 560 days. I mean, that's horrendous. That is so bad. It really is unbelievable that he's gone that long without scoring a goal from open play. So we hope that it liberates, and we hope it's an immediate recovery from that penalty miss against Feyenoord. I hope they can do it against Feyenoord. I wasn't impressed by Feyenoord, I'll be honest with you. I
Neither
was
was
not
I.
impressed at all in the
Neither
first
was
leg.
I.
And I feel like if Roma play how they can play, they play to their best of the ability, I think they can go through.
And they
Based
need
on that
that
first leg.
crowd behind their back, because that is the 11th, like the 12th man. I mean, we keep saying that, but look, for cities like Rome and Naples, like these Piazza, they are like, that crowd can elevate them to do crazy things, like when they beat Barcelona, or a few years ago with Eusebio Di Francesco. Like those magical moments in time can happen at that stadium, and they need one of those nights for the crowd to do that, because they have a
A
really
famous
good
Roma
path.
comeback. We've seen them before.
Yes,
We've seen them before.
yeah, we've seen them
There are a
before.
lot of examples of that from
There
the
are a lot of
past. I mean, the
examples.
Barcelona one, Dundee United in 1984. They lost 2-0 the first leg, the semi-final of the European Cup. Come back and won 3-0 the second leg. I mean, Roma does do comebacks, and
yeah, they do. And Mourinho is the guy to lead them to do it. And I think at home at the Olimpico, if they can, I really want because I think they've got a pathway to the final.
I think so
And a
too,
final is a final.
because the other game was 1-1 between
Yeah,
Union Saint SG and Leverkusen, and Union are at home
yeah,
for the second leg. So, I
yeah.
mean, it's there for them. I hope they can do it. Right, rest of the Serie A weekend match calendar just quickly. Cremonese 2 wins in a row. They
Yeah,
beat
what is
Empoli
going
1-0.
on?
Yeah, I mean, I still think they're too far away. I think they're seven off safety. I mean, it's unlikely, but
It's not impossible.
good. They've kept themselves alive. Lecce won, Sampdoria won. Bad result for Lecce. I mean, the Sampdoria does nothing for them, but for Lecce, bad result for them. Terrible result for them.
Yeah, they're in the
They
relegation
might
battle
regret
now.
that could be
Yeah.
the draw that at the end of the season. I mean, I still think they should be okay, but they haven't won for so long, and they destroyed Sampdoria in this game. They had so many chances, and now they're only, how many points are they above the relegation zone now?
Lecce 5.
5
They're
points.
5 points. Yeah.
So it's very
No, look, it's look, if Cremonese have 19, Verona 23, Spezia 26, Lecce 28. It's those 4 teams. And Cremonese have 2 wins in a row. So if Ballardini pulls this off, I mean, good God. Build I don't know, but Serie A should build a statue to him in his honor, because Cremonese have no business doing that. But they keep doing it. And Verona play, they travel to Bologna, and then Cremonese Hellas Verona, 30th of April, 3 p.m.
Yeah,
Make sure to
there are
watch
some
that.
big relegation head-to-heads coming up. Torino won, Salernitana won, which is a good result for Salernitana again. Two good results in a row after the Inter game, and that just keeps them, the gap over the relegation zone. I think they're 6. Are they 6 or 7 over the relegation zone?
Who?
Salernitana.
Salernitana. They're 7 points.
7
off,
points. So they've got a nice little gap there. They should be okay. And then we're recording this on Monday late afternoon. We're recording this, and Fiorentina play Atalanta ahead of Fiorentina play on Thursday in the Conference League. Champions League preview very quickly. We've already discussed this. We've already did a preview that you can see on YouTube and in our show from last week for the Napoli Milan second leg. So Osimhen is back. That is crucial. But Anguissa is out. Kim Min-jae is out. So the question are really, who replaces them? We've won Jesus that will replace Kim. I think that's pretty clear. Who replaces Anguissa in centre midfield?
Well, he will have to go with
Elmas?
What's his name? Yeah, no. Well, Elmas feels like the natural player to go. Or
I think he plays Zielinski in a more deeper role to take Anguissa, and then he plays Elmas. I think, but it's possible he could play Ndombele, but I'm not sure. He'll trust him from the start.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and who plays on the right wing? Who would you play on the right wing for Napoli? Would you play Lozano or would you play Politano?
I'd play Politano over Lozano in this game, because I think it's the kind of game that suits him more. Napoli are going to be crossing a lot of balls into the box, and I think Lozano's crossing. That's not really his forte, is it? I think Politano's better than that.
It's a tricky one for me, because I feel like the Rafael Leao, I think Lozano does a better job covering defensively. And I think they do still need to think about Leao, because I do think he's going to be a threat. But then again, Napoli do need to open up, so I see both sides.
I wonder if Milan don't play a 3-4-2-1 against Napoli.
You think so?
Just I'm thinking out loud. I'm wondering if he wants to like really centralize and shut, close me and surprise Napoli and basically just shut them down in the middle, and just send them out to the wings and have three players in the air with Mike Mignon, collectively just, all right, here, have the ball, sending crosses.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
I would be surprised. I would be surprised, but you can't count Pioli because he has had Spalletti's number this season, all three games, including the one that
lost,
Napoli won. I thought the Milan were the better team tactically and just in performance in that game as well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. There were fears that Giroud would be out, but he's fine. He trained today. So I would expect this. I would expect the same team from Milan. Inter Benfica, as we discussed, Inzaghi. If they lose, Inzaghi goes out. They've got 2-0 lead, and we talked about Inter's bad run of form. Well,
Benfica have fallen off a cliff.
Yeah, what is going on there?
They've fallen off a cliff. They were 10 points clear of Porto. Now they're just 4.
Yeah,
and Sergio Conceição, you know how much I love this guy. But like, if he pulls this off, and he pulls off a domestic quadruple, because they've already won the League Cup and the Super Cup, they're in the semi-final of the Portuguese Cup, and they're 4 points clear with 6 games left to play. 4 points up with 6 games left to play, and Benfica have a more difficult fixture list. If he pulls this off, my God,
I don't know what's happened to Benfica. They've got 3 defeats in a row. I mean, there's no disgrace losing to Porto and Inter, but they lost to Chaves in this, who are, I think, mid-table.
Yeah, they're completely
with a 94th minute goal as well. So I feel like we're talking psychologically about Inter. I think psychologically, Benfica can't be in good shape. They've got a young team.
No, they're not.
They've got a young team as well.
They have.
Yeah, I think Inter it would require a real Pazza Inter collapse for them to.
Yeah, 3. They have to lose by 3 goals.
Yeah.
Or 2 and on penalties. But
I think Inter. I think they will be motivated. They should be good in this game. Europa League. So as we said, Sporting 0, Juventus 1. We're playing in Lisbon. Sporting drew as well at the weekend, and Juventus need to play hell of a lot better than they have done, and they need to improve their away form. Although their away form in the Europa League has been okay so far in the knockouts. Roma, we've discussed that already. We hope they can turn that around. And Fiorentina in the Conference League quarterfinal, they won 4-1 against Lech Poznan, and they'll be absolutely fine. They'll
be fine. They have to get through. It's as simple as that.
There'll be no problems. In fact, I would expect them to even rotate players.
No, they have to go. Yeah, exactly. They have to go. I think tonight against Fiorentina. I think Fiorentina need to just get themselves focused on the Coppa Italia and to get themselves into the top 7, top 8 of the Serie A, because they need to finish with decency in the league, because it's not been a good campaign. But Fiorentina could be in 2 cup finals this season, and that would make this season a success as opposed.
Oh no, they've hit form right at the right time. At the right time, and they look fresh. They look fresh, and they look fit as well, and that's important. Right, let's move on to Baggio and Prem Face of the week. Okay, Baggio, Nima, do you have any?
Lazio's second goal was the build up to that was mouth-wateringly beautiful. Like it was stunning, absolutely stunning. I thought it was. Yeah. I mean, the build up was just. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Let's go with Lazio. They've put themselves. They basically secured a top 4 place. So well done to them. Prem Face of the week is super competitive this week.
I don't. It's like, are they? It's not even Talk Sport this week. It's Richard Keys at beIN Sport, who twice said, I mean, you take it away about what he said about Frank Lampard and Nagelsmann.
Well, first of all, he tweeted about this in the week, earlier in the week. He tweeted, probably at the start of last week, he tweeted basically saying that Frank Lampard is a better manager than Nagelsmann. He's more like proven, and what has Nagelsmann basically done? That resulted in him a pylon of him getting absolutely destroyed. People just calling him a Prem Face and a complete idiot, basically, understandably so. It's a stupid thing to say. Anyway, he then, on his own show, him and Andy Gray, he then doubled down on it. He then doubled down on this, and he did that after Chelsea had lost to Real Madrid.
And after Frank Lampard said the now immortally stupid words, we didn't think Real Madrid were this good.
Yeah, I didn't realise Real Madrid were this good.
I didn't realise Real Madrid were this good.
Yeah.
Well, wow.
So he says
that is amazing.
So he says it on his TV show. He goes, I'll read out what he says, Keys. He turns to his longtime TV partner, Andy Gray, and he says, one of the candidates for the Chelsea job is Julian Nagelsmann. What has he got that the Chelsea legend that is Frank Lampard has not? A guy that knows the club inside out, a guy that the Chelsea fans think the world of. What has Nagelsmann done? Okay, he's won the Bundesliga, but he'd be hard pushed not to, as he's the Bayern Munich coach. But he's won nothing else. So what makes him preferable to Frank Lampard? Is it because he's German? Is it because he's young? Is it because he rides a skateboard? And then Andy Gray replied to Keys, basically agreeing with him, saying, what makes Nagelsmann better? I don't know. Modern day owners of English Premier League clubs have a fixation with a foreign name, a foreign coach, that they would be better and be better equipped, that they bring a brand of football that we can't produce with British coaches, which is a nonsense. But there can be no other reason that Nagelsmann should be rated higher than Frank. Yes, he's won the Bundesliga, but you're right. You'd be hard pushed not to win the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. I mean, you just hear this and you just think, are they really saying what proof is there that Nagelsmann is a better coach than Frank Lampard? I mean,
Frank, I didn't realise Real Madrid, the reigning champions of Europe, would be this good.
Let me read out? Can I just read out to you Lampard's record? His last 17 matches as manager, Frank Lampard. Last 17 matches: won 1, drawn 2, lost 14. He's lost 14 of his last 17 matches as a manager, and here is Grays and Keys basically literally saying. What has Nagelsmann done, and how is he better than Frank Lampard?
But for me, Rio Ferdinand was worse.
What did Ferdinand say?
The Ollie Watkins, same level as Erling Haaland thing. It's just, I mean, I don't even know how to react to that. In what galaxy is Ollie Watkins the same level as Erling Haaland? Like, what are you talking about? What's the matter with you?
There's some other ones this week as well that I've just I don't know what I've done with them because there was just so many. I kind of lost track of how many Prem faces we had.
But the BBC journalist who told Ruben Dias that before the game that you should be essentially saying him that you're playing a Bundesliga team, so you really should be winning that, shouldn't you? And Ruben Dias basically laughed in his face and said, I think, we're past this level of discussion, which is essentially saying, you're an idiot, shut up.
Yeah, we're past this Prem face level of discussion. Now, what he said, the journalist, was he said that because Manchester City are playing a Bundesliga team, that Manchester City should win easily. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Which they did win easily. They did win easily in the end, but that's not the point. That's not the point.
It's Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Okay, Bayern Munich are a bit of a mess this season because of everything that's happened and a crisis. But to say that they are not this is Bayern Munich. Look at what they've done in the last few years. Look at their squad. Look at the players. Stop. Just stop. It's embarrassing. But no, it really is like it's just every single day is something stupid. More insane than the other, but Rio Ferdinand for me with what Ollie Watkins comment is just.
Yeah, the thing is, I can forgive Ferdinand more because Watkins is in amazing form. He scored 12 goals in 13 games. Maybe he meant on form. He's doing Hurling hard. Like I don't know. I didn't see the context. I can forgive it more. What I can't forgive is I've watched what Keys and Gray said, and I've seen them for years and years, for 30 years. I know who these people are, and the way that it was delivered, it was delivered with so much proud ignorance and proud arrogance. It was said so dismissively as kind of it's Julian Nagelsmann. This is Frank Lampard. What has this foreigner got that our Englishman hasn't got. It was said with such pride. It's like the famous that we quote all the time, the famous stand up by Chris Rock. Proud.
Proud. I don't know that shit.
Yeah, it's like that. Proud to it. I don't know that shit.
I'm proudly stupid and ignorant.
Yeah. And that's what gets me.
It's just they really are. They are a different breed, aren't they?
Like Graham Souness with De Zerbi as well. When De Zerbi got hired as Brighton coach, and he basically said, Roberto De Zerbi, I've never heard of him, so why the hell are they hiring him? That's basically what he said. He's foreign, and I've never heard of him. So how can he be a good hire? Why are they hiring this guy? That's basically what he was saying. Unbelievable.
It's astonishing arrogance and stupidity.
I'm sure we'll get more this week because it's a
I'm sure they're in form. It's like harvest season. It's Prem face harvesting. It's like every 5 minutes there's something incredibly stupid.
The Prem harvest, yeah.
The Prem face harvest.
They're going to make a sacrifice to the gods now.
No, but it is. It's like it literally
give us your best Prem face. We're going to sacrifice our best Prem face to the gods.
No, it's the more you get to the business end of the season, it seems like they just seem to pipe up more with these insane takes. It's just
love it. Okay, let's leave it there, guys. We will be back on Tuesday for the Q&A, and then Thursday we will have the review of the Champions League matches, and we'll look ahead to the. And
exactly. We'll have on Tuesday we'll do the Q&A for patrons only, and we'll probably most likely do a post match reaction to the Napoli Milan.
We'll see how that game. We'll see how that game goes. If it's an eventful game, we'll definitely do something.
And then on Thursday, of course, we're back as usual for patrons. And those of you who if you want to become a patron, patreon.com/TIFP, $2.99 excluding VAT a month. And everyone else listening to this on Spotify, Google, iOS, please hit a subscribe, 5-star rating. It really helps us a lot.
Yeah, and subscribe on YouTube as well. We're on YouTube. We're posting stuff on YouTube.
We put the entire Monday pod now out on YouTube, and we put extra clips and stuff out there as well. And we got, we're going to do more stuff on YouTube. Whenever we've done interviews, when possible, they've been video, we always put the entire thing there. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the same thing everywhere, @ItaFootPod.
Yeah, please do. Okay, great. Have a good week. Enjoy the football. We'll see the patrons on Tuesday. We'll see the rest of you on Thursday. Until then, ciao, ciao.